conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show.
No.
It is the 13th of December, almost up to Christmas, 2017. I am your host, Sackhead Sean. Sitting across from me, once again, is the amazing, bloviating Zeppelin. Sackhead Clint will be joining us later in the show as a special guest. And hopefully the medicine kicks in for BZ here.
Hell no. To the no. Hell no. To the no.
I just want to point out to everybody that I am wearing
That is cool.
the Tactical Yeti shirt from Grunt Style. It's the
That
December
is a
version.
Great T-shirt.
And I immediately, as soon as I pulled it out of the bag, I immediately thought, hey, I'm wearing an ode to BZ. This is like, I'm
Tactical
wearing
Yeti.
BZ's shirt.
That's right. Damn it, mister. I hate that when that happens.
And yeah. So it's kind of an honor and a privilege to like wear you on my chest, your image. And
That was me in my younger days when I was a little slimmer.
pretty ripped.
I was ripped
And,
in my ute.
Looks like a AR or an M4 slung over your shoulder, as it should be. And yeah, it's the December Grunt Style. I also got a great one. They had a flash sale.
Oh yeah, you got to show people that one.
Flash
That's
sale,
cool.
mystery T-shirt, and I was telling you the story early on, but let me just show this first. That's that.
Perfect.
So they had like this flash sale for $8. You can get a mystery T-shirt. I wanted that shirt a couple months ago when they first came out with it. It was just after he was convicted, which is why I love Grunt Style. Of course, it says "fuck Bergdahl," and I wanted that shirt. It just didn't happen. So when the mystery T-shirt was purchased, I did not expect that to come in the mail, and it did come in the mail. So it's like Merry Christmas to me right now.
I think it's great. I love both the shirts. Now, obviously, I'm biased. I love the Tactical Yeti for obvious reasons, but the Bergdahl thing, I'm loving the hell out of that.
I'll tell you what, the quality of these shirts, Grunt Style is amazing. The quality of these, and we're not paid, by the way, yet, by Grunt Style.
Qualifier.
This is completely my opinion. The fabric on these are amazing. They have a great return policy. If anything goes wrong with your shirts, like anything, you just send it back and they'll send you another one. If it's not in stock, they'll send you something as close to it as they can. Their customer service is immense. Their T-shirt designs are great. Right now, there's a shirt that I saw that it looks like a nice Hawaiian shirt. It's a nice light blue. It has that kind of orange Hawaiian look. It has the palm trees in the background. You look at it, you're like, that's a nice shirt. And you read it, and it says Aloha Snack Bar
Okay.
instead of Alo Akbar. And it just made me laugh my ass off.
That is funny.
When I read it.
It makes me think of Hawaiian nose flute.
What?
Really? All right, I'm gonna. Do you want me to?
Yes,
I will.
you have to explain it to me. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about right now. Wow. This is not happening right now. Why?
Why did you ever say?
Oh, I had no idea, BZ. I'm
Did
so
you not
sorry.
learn a lesson tonight? A valuable lesson. Never ask BZ to do Hawaiian nose flute. Or is it Hawaiian nose harp? I forget whether it's nose flute or nose harp. Damn it, Jim.
Yeah, damn it, Jim. Of course, I said earlier the Big Nose will be here in a little bit, and he'll sit in for us here, like a special guest does, right? You bring him in the last hour of the show. We'll ask him some questions. He'll
it's
tell
your
us,
own damn show, mister. Where the hell are you?
We'll ask him some questions and get some answers. Of course, if you want to listen to us or watch us, shrmedia.com. Listen live. The chat room is right there as well. BZ, we have some people in the chat room starting to fill in.
We do. We got Jersey Joe. We got Mike, and we got Ron Burgundy.
A pleasure to be in the
I told him
the
already.
presence of greatness.
I said, welcome to great TV show host.
Yes.
Ron Burgundy.
That escalated quickly, and I appreciate him being there. If you want to join the conversation there, it's shrmedia.com. Of course, we are on YouTube. Just search SHR Media. The feed is up, and Facebook Live on the SHR Media page. It is an honor and a privilege to have you fine people with us this evening. There is a lot to talk about, and we are going to get to the topics we need to get to. But first, sir, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I had Matthew Betley on my show last night.
Yes.
And he is a thriller author. This week is Thriller Author Week. So I had Matt Betley on the show last night, and he's written 2 really damn good books that I highly recommend. Very, very well written. If you like books on the order of like Brad Thor, Vince Flynn, you're going to like the stuff that he writes. Brad Taylor, if you like guys that write in the thriller genre, you're going to like Matt Betley. And his background is I think he may have gotten a bit perturbed at one point, because I think it's fairly clear that he has associations with the intelligence community and with operators and whatnot, because he spent 10 years in the Marines. He was an officer. He went to Iraq and came back. He admitted he was an alcoholic for a number of years, and just one day decided, I can't be like this. So he goes to AA. He's 8 years sober, and so God bless him for that. That's a wonderful thing. But he says he was really nebulous. He said, I work for the government. I said, okay, all right. And this is after he returned from Iraq. And so I said, because I knew what he was going to say before I even asked him, but I thought, okay, well, push the damn envelope and let's see what he says. I said, okay.
You?
And what government agency do you work for?
Why not?
And he said, I can't tell you.
Oh, that's even better.
That's why I asked him the question, because I had a pretty good feeling that he was going to say
I hate to say, but that's kind of the answer you want, right?
It was. It was. Because I looked at some of the interviews that other people had done with him, and nobody really got into much of his personal life.
Because they know better.
And so I thought, okay, I'm going to have him on again. And he sort of, in a roundabout way, mentioned that he had a wife.
Mm-hmm.
And that he's very busy with his job.
Mm-hmm.
And so next time when he comes on, Matt, if you're listening, I'm going to ask you about your personal life, because the other thing I've noticed is nobody else is asking you about this. And Matt, if you're listening, I just want to tell you, I'm going to ask you again, what do you do for your work, and what agency do you work for? Just thought I'd tell you.
Well,
and then Thursday, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, Jack Ryan was a historian, right?
He originally started out, he was just an analyst.
Right, but his story for years is that he was just a historian.
Right.
That's how I'm just a historian.
Right.
Okay.
And then this is another interesting thing. There's a machine, a device that's in his newest book, Oath of Honor. He's written 2 books, Overwatch #1, Oath of Honor #2. There's a device in the book #2, Oath of Honor, called the One Ring, and it's a program system that can take over and completely grab satellites and place them under control. In other words, it can take over.
It hacks them.
Every satellite.
Like Anderson Cooper's Twitter.
Yep.
It gets hacked.
Yep, exactly. And I said, I knew it when I asked the question. And I thought, fuck it. I said, hey, because you're kind of in that community, do we have anything like the One Ring?
What'd he say?
Because you know me, and he said, "No, I can't tell you anything."
What about the rods from God? Because I like those too.
So I had a great time talking to Matthew Bentley. And then Thursday, tomorrow night, I'm going to have on Terrence McCauley again. I had him on for his prior book, and now he's got Conspiracy of Ravens out.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've noticed with Terrence, if you're listening, I'm going to give you some props up front. With his newest book, I think his writing, he's stepped up his writing. And I have to give him props. I think, people always say, your new book is the best book. Well, Terrence, in this case, your new book is, in fact, the best book. So, folks, if you want to read two great thriller writers, Matt Bentley,
Mm-hmm.
Betley, he's at MatthewBentley.com, and Terrence McCauley, and I think he's at TerrenceMcCauley.com or .net. Both easy guys to find on the internet at Matthew Bentley, at Terrence McCauley, NYC.
Right.
But you'll find it on Twitter because he lives in New York City.
Well, folks, this has been the Bloviating Zeppelin Berserk
Author Chat.
Bobcat Saloon weekly podcast to update everything that's on the Bloviating Zeppelin show. Make sure you check them out at bloviatingzeppelin.net. We will see you next week.
That's right, with more Author Chat and more Zeppelin Chat.
No, it's awesome. Obviously, two great interviews. The information.
And Kurt Schlichter, if you're listening,
Please.
I'm aiming for you, brother. I'm going to bring you on here because there's another thing. Kurt Schlichter has a great witty insight, conservative insight. What people don't know is that Kurt Schlichter has also written 2 books.
He's a very, very prolific writer.
And these are 2 fiction books that I thought, Kurt Schlichter wrote a novel? No. I read it. Yeah, he did. He wrote 2 of them, and they're really damn good. So I'd like to get him on and under the guise of talking to him about books, and then we're going to rip a new arsehole for politics, because I sense that's where he would want to go.
Well, why would you not want to go?
I'd love to have him.
I mean, what's the point
again.
what's the point of doing it, right? I mean, this is the
know.
point, is to rip assholes into politics. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're the assholes.
Yes, we are. And when you say that word, the first thing that happens to me is it's sort of a nervous reaction. My hands goes up like, me.
Ooh, pick me. Pick me.
No, I am.
I well, I can't even argue that.
Yeah, let's see. I knew. Mary Brockman is in chat. Welcome to Mary Brockman. Good to see you.
Welcome.
There's a guy in here called Jim Will Acosta.
Wow.
No, wait, no, I mispronounced it. Jim will accost you.
Oh. That's actually more appropriate.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I'm doing well, thanks, and I appreciate you asking. It's there's a lot going on this week, and yeah, doing pretty good. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And let's move right into some topics. Let's see.
You know what we didn't do? See, this is the reason that we need Clint here. Damn it, Clint, you didn't do your job. See, Clint's job is we got a board over here. You can't see it, but there's a whiteboard that we got over here. Isn't that racist to say that? Anyway, we have a whiteboard over here, and he writes down all the topics.
Yes, he does.
And the other thing is, shh, don't tell him this. He gets really pissed off if you fuck with his whiteboard, if you put topics in there and they're not pre-approved by Clint.
Oh, yeah. No, this is what you hear in his head.
So that's absolutely true.
Oh, yeah.
So there are no topics on the whiteboard because Clint isn't here to give direction to the show. So, Clint?
We're just running in circles right now.
That's right. You're not doing your damn job, mister.
Where the hell are you, brother? Well, I do want to start off, first and foremost, because we only have 15 minutes, and I don't think this segment will take more than 15 minutes. I do want to talk about the Anderson Cooper Twitter debacle that's going on right now.
Okay, I want to hear this because Mike Pasqua in chat said, quote, "The dog ate my homework," and then attributed it to Anderson Cooper.
Yes. So
this is something I haven't heard, and I want to hear.
Yeah, so I've heard it all over the place, but I got this specific article is is written by Fox Business. So, Anderson Cooper via CNN.
Now, is that on the? Are people seeing that right now? That article?
No, they are
Okay.
not seeing that. I'm not that good, BZ. I'm just pulling
Well,
it up.
see, if you figured out how to do that, that would be like being able to rule the world.
I know, and I would love to be able to do that, but I just can't do that yet. Let me rephrase that. We have the capability. I don't have the intelligence to pull that off. But earlier today, a tweet went out in response to President Trump, who was who was commenting on the Alabama election. The president tweeted out, "The reason I endorse Luther Strange," and his numbers went up mightily, "is that Roy Moore will not be able to win the general election. I was right. Roy worked hard, but the deck was stacked against him." We will talk about that election as we go on. Let's curb that for a moment. And Anderson Cooper's official Twitter responds, "Oh, really? You endorsed him too, you pathetic loser," or just pathetic loser. Anderson Cooper, CNN, this is his official Twitter. Of course, everybody was like, what the fuck, right? Because as we all know, Anderson Cooper is a true believer. The simple reality of the fact is he doesn't really do anything. Let me rephrase that. In his interviews, he does. He shows his true colors, etc. But he also tries to keep himself. He tries to act like he has journalistic integrity left, which he does not. But he tries to act like he does occasionally. This was pretty overt. The cable network tweeted that somebody had gained access, quote, to Anderson's account and sent the tweet to the president. "We're working to secure the Twitter account." Apparently, the story they are going with is, are you ready for this, BZ? This will be bullshit of the week.
Okay.
The claim is that his personal assistant was in New York. Anderson was allegedly in Washington, D.C., in his gym, or in a gym, working out. He left his phone, evidently unlocked, in his locker, went to work out. Somebody must have said, "Hey, that guy is Anderson Cooper's assistant. I know he has access to Anderson's Twitter. The president tweeted this 2 hours ago. Let's respond." That has to be the only thing that could possibly happen, or Russian collusion.
Yeah, could you possibly think of anything more convoluted?
Right.
In response to that, it couldn't have been me, and B, not only was it not me, but the weirdest damn thing happened, and I didn't respond like that. Okay, who could craft that sort of specious bullshit?
If it was in a locked locker, which there's been some allegations that it was, okay, so somebody followed you. They saw you put your phone away, and while the phone was put away, they knew you didn't lock it, or they knew your passcode.
Right, and then they went in it solely not to look for the cool contacts,
Right.
and the various other men that Anderson Cooper involves in his life, and try to get the smut on him in that fashion, or they tried to find out his various passwords that he keeps in his phone account, etc.
Or just contacts, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
or
at the end
copy
of the day,
his contact list. No, they didn't do that. They decided that they were going to get on his Twitter.
Yes.
And further, this is the best part. They didn't take his phone.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's Anderson Cooper. Why the hell would you take his phone so that you can look through the entire thing
Think
at
about
your leisure?
if you haven't unlocked Anderson Cooper's, even his assistant, think about the amount of, if you're going after him at all, right? So you can go after the information that you're trying to make Anderson look bad. You can't tell me your whole goal was to tweet from his account to the president about something he tweeted 2 hours ago. This is bullshit, folks. When we talk about CNN, MSNBC, all these other left-wing media outlets, and they're constantly putting out stories and having to be retracted or corrected or whatever because they're bullshit artists, and we all know they are. This is another prime freaking example of why they are assholes. Instead of just coming out and saying, "Hey, you know what? My assistant was a little agitated," or even, "Yeah, he left his phone open on his desk and somebody else from CNN walked in and tweeted it to be an asshole," or whatever. more believable. But to come up with the fake gym workout burglary to the locker and then replace the phone afterwards like nothing ever happened. So much so that you're willing to like throw out, look, we have the GPS of its location and blah, 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 blah. We've already contacted Twitter, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit.
And the guy that did it, when Anderson went back to his locker, the guy that did it, that just was leaving, was walking by, towel draped around his waist, and he was going, looking down. It wasn't him.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't, Anderson did not have the phone. It was his assistant's phone. He had access to Anderson's Twitter account. They're the only two people, Anderson and his assistant.
Okay, you're right. I meant to say his assistant.
Okay, good. I just want to clarify.
Yes.
That it was his assistant. And he would never lie. And this actually just came in from the second best newsman of the business, Dan Butcher. He would never lie because, quote, Anderson would never lie, and Dan Rather and Brian Williams would never lie either. Of course they would not lie. Why would they ever lie?
Right. They wouldn't.
And just like the Washington Post, who earlier this week lost a reporter because, was it the Post or the Times? I can't remember which one.
Oh, you mean Brian Ross?
Yes. Yet another version. One of the things I was watching the Five today, or listening to it, I should say, on Fox that really, one of the things I want to say it was Jesse Waters or maybe it was Gutfeld, but he said, look, you can say what you want about the president and fake news, but all he's doing is forcing them to make all these retractions, and at some point, it's going to force them to be more honest about the reporting. Another poll or research found out today that 91% of the stories on left-wing media, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, headline news, 91% of the stories about Trump were negative. Anything that had positivity to it was not overtly political as much as it was, the Christmas tree and all that other stuff that isn't really political related. And it shows you the amount of bias that the media still to this day denies, but yet proves through their actions repeatedly. You had the ABC story with what's-his-face last week that had to retract when Flynn was indicted. It was completely false and erroneous, and he went to air with it. You had Ross having to resign because he had a BS story or photo that was thrown up. Over and over and over again, you see this, and now Brian Williams. Now Anderson Cooper turning around and saying, yeah, that wasn't my assistant. Somebody must have hacked the phone. Well, you know what? I'd give you much, much more credit if you came out and you were like, yeah, you know what? That was my assistant, and I fired him. Yeah, he has access to my Twitter. He does all my Twitter. Nobody would be shocked by that, right? Nobody's going to be shocked that Anderson Cooper doesn't run his own Twitter account. Nobody on the planet. We know the president does. And we know that he does on a regular basis. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We know that Anderson Cooper doesn't write his own Twitter or run it. He may tell the guy what to say, but the guy physically types it in for him as assistant. So when, and I ask you wholeheartedly, BZ, when will mainstream media realize that the rest of the world knows they're bullshit artists and it's time to move on and actually try to regain some journalistic integrity?
Well, let's see. Let's point this out. The obvious. Hello, Captain. Welcome. Come into the studio. The media, if I'm not mistaken, was wrong 4 times this past week.
Mm-hmm.
One of the times was when CNN decided that it was going to breathlessly chant about the fact that now there's information that they have that Donald Trump Jr. was in collusion with WikiLeaks, who's in collusion with Russia, because it all goes back to the Kremlin, and he was in collusion with WikiLeaks before WikiLeaks went public on all of these emails.
Yes.
Oh, wait, that was wrong because they said that it was February 4th, only they forgot the 1 in front of the 4, which it was actually the 14th, which is after WikiLeaks went public with it, and so it was actually in the public domain by then. But here's what happened. CNN went on and on and on and on and on, and then it went to all the other American media maggots
who jumped on it with,
and they retweeted it. And they shipped it to Facebook, and on and on and
here's
on.
the thing I love about this. This tells you how horrific these media outlets are and what social media has in a way done to journalism in this country. Nobody fact checks. Nobody goes, let me just make sure, a quick Google search. Hey, when did WikiLeaks drop this set? Oh, February 14th. They put the 4th. Why don't we look into this? Nope. Retweet. Throw it out there. It's going to be accurate. It was tweeted. How could it not be accurate?
Here, I've got to read this.
And this is
article
why,
to you.
and again, I've been saying this for a while, and the folks on the 5 touched on this today too, but this is why, as much as sometimes I don't enjoy how he tweets, this is why the president tweets. Because he puts his side of things out, because he knows 95% of media in this country will not report what he says. It goes back to the fallen Green Beret, or the fallen Ranger, who was killed in Africa, when he was saying, "Oh, how horrible he treated that man's wife," and all this, and they tweeted just he knew what he was getting into. That part went all over the place, but they didn't give you the whole story. The fact that he said to her, even though he knew what the potential consequences were, he still signed up and went to work to serve and protect his country. And that may not be an exact quote, but that was the gist of it. They left all that part out. They put in the part that makes Trump look like he is an asshole, because that's what they do best.
Folks, here's why you listen to Sackheads Radio, because if you liked that,
you'll love this.
You'll love this. So when that comes out and the media is just fawning all over the fact that finally they have evidence about WikiLeaks and Donald Trump, and it's a direct link to the Russians, for fuck's sake.
Got him!
Then Newsweek comes out with this. This is the headline. You're going to love this. Trump spells media wrong in tweet complaining about fake news coverage.
Yes.
Now that's news.
Well, and here's the other thing that I thought was absolutely astounding
Jesus
about.
Christ.
I just thought was amazing. Is while the New York City attempted terrorist attack, or actual terrorist attack, just because there were no casualties does not make it a non-terrorist attack.
If he blew his nuts off, that does in fact make it a pipe bomb, right?
It does in fact make it a pipe bomb.
Yeah.
But CNN, in the middle of it all, is talking about how Trump drinks 10 Diet Cokes a day. Who gives a shit? If I was president, they would talk about the fact that I drink 15 cups of coffee a day. I mean, I totally get it, but look, I mean, like or dislike Bush, but remember the coverage when he choked on the peanut or the popcorn or whatever it was?
Yeah, on
it
his
was
couch,
all over
right?
the place,
Yeah.
right? I don't know how dramatic of an incident it was still to this day, but the simple fact that that was the headline tells you they will do whatever they can. I saw another article out there today or a couple days ago about how he likes Big Macs or McDonald's, or eats McDonald's on a regular basis, and I was like, so didn't Bill Clinton.
He's 70 fucking years old. He gets to like McDonald's
He
if he
can
wants
like
to.
Eat but this is what they're covering.
Christ.
An attempted terrorist attack in New York City, yet another one. Another one.
Well, here's his tweet.
Remember the Chelsea bombings last year? Then what? Earlier this month or early last month, there was the guy who tried to run everybody over.
Right.
They're all claiming ISIS. We've had several attempted attacks. This one is a bigger deal because it was an attempted suicide bombing.
He wanted to be the first actual successful
ISIS
suicide bomber in a public place in the United States of America. That's what his desire was.
And that got missed. And this is what's wrong with mainstream media. We are up against a break.
Yep.
Sorry about that, PZ. I know you had more you wanted to add. But,
I'll bring it up when we come back.
Simple fact is I'm not going to let you. We'll be back right here
great.
on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show. Only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it again.
Some of the best A-roll is going to be evil.
Like, what are you talking about? You mean just the last question that you're going to cut in a couple seconds. Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Good point. Exactly right.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ, no communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us as we return from break. BZ, I know I cut you off on the break if you wanted to add a little bit.
That's okay. That's your job. The tweet that President Trump wrote was this: wow, more than 90% of fake news media, he spells media correctly, coverage of me is negative, with numerous forced retractions of untrue stories. Hence my use of social media, the only way to get the truth out. Gosh. Isn't that just what you said about 4 minutes ago, Sackhead Sean?
Yes.
Imagine that. Much of mainstream media has become a joke. Now, okay, this time he spells media, M-E-A-D-I-A.
Oh, my goodness,
I know,
he mistypes.
Drop everything.
By the way, folks, if you've ever seen anything I've posted on social media or, like, instant messaged me or texted with me, you will see that I am consistently misspelling because I have gigantic friggin' fingers and a tiny-ass keyboard, and after a while, you get exhausted just trying to fix it. And people will send me back messages. They're like, "What the hell did you just say?"
Hey,
I'm like,
listen, when you send me text messages,
"You have to speak my language."
9 times out of 10, I have to ask you, okay, what the fuck
I
was
know
that?
it.
What did you just mean?
And I spent a lot of time when we went to digital keyboards. I was better when I had the little QWERTY keyboard that was actually keys on my phone, right? When they went to only digital keyboards, I spent a lot of time early trying to correct it and trying to fix it. And then I just said, fuck it.
Yeah, that's
because
what
I'm attached to this thing 24/7 for the show and other, just
You're
life
in the
in
fuck it
general.
phase right now. But, folks, I have to tell you this. You've probably seen people who can text with their thumbs rapidly. I can attest to the fact that I don't, even millennials, I don't think I've seen millennials type with their thumbs on a phone keyboard as fast as Sackhead Sean can. Holy mother of God. No wonder you make mistakes.
I have to, though, right?
It's like, honest to God. If folks, if you're watching on YouTube or something like that, his little thumbs are like this. I'm sorry, little thumbs.
That's very generous of you.
That's factually incorrect.
Very
but anyway,
generous.
He's on his phone. He's like, literally that fast.
Yeah. Well,
I am stunned. I sit here stunned.
So, and for anyone who doesn't know, right, I do some of our social media stuff. I email back and forth about the show itself and then about the network with some of the hosts, text messages, Facebook, instant message. Like my Sackhead Sean Facebook page is attached to the show. So I get people text me about the show in there all the time and I have to go back and forth with. Then you add in, I work a job outside of SHR Media that most people do. And it's
imagine
and
that.
It's 24/7.
You have a real job.
And I get texts all the time from that, so I have to answer to that. And then I actually use my phone for personal reasons sometimes. Every once in a while, I will send a friend a text message. I've actually, you know what's funny, BZ? I've actually made calls on this.
No.
Yeah, cut the shit. It's only to my mother.
That's just wrong.
It's only to my mother.
Okay.
But I do make calls on it. So, yeah, I've had to learn. I went from, like, being very, very slow to, like, no, I have to go thumbs of steel. There has to be fingers flying off the end of my sparks.
That should be a novel.
Sparks flying off the end of my fingers.
Yeah, no, I like fingers flying out of your
Son
sparks.
of a bitch.
No, that's some funny shite. I love it.
This is why I should have just let you talk. I should have went on the tirade.
No. Listen, the entertainment value is escalating,
Well,
even
and
as
of
we're sitting
course,
here.
As soon as I type that, everybody I know that listens and listens live that knows me personally is texting me.
Yeah, they're gonna go
every misspell or nonstop.
Did he just misspell media?
I
wonder.
I own it. So yeah, back to Trump.
Well, here's a funny thing. Now you led in with the Anderson Cooper thing, where his assistant put his assistant's phone in there, and then somebody allegedly got into the locker and sent out this allegedly erroneous tweet. But in any event, now the funny thing about that is, no one believes that. No one thinks that there's any kind of credibility to that. But go now to the thing about CNN and Donald Trump and WikiLeaks. The exclusive about that was also, like air quote confirmed by CBS and MSNBC. And, they all went out on a big Twitter storm about that. Said that some unknown person had sent the president's son an encryption key to view that secret WikiLeaks email. Okay, but like I said, it turned to crap because it was 10 days later. The date was bad. That's bad enough itself. But CNN then, just like this bullshit with Anderson Cooper, CNN said, okay, here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to take any actions against our reporter because of this. Because now they revamped everything. 2 sources have provided bad information, okay? But how did, just people, don't you ever ask yourself fucking questions? How did,
No!
How did 2 separate sources manage to get the same shit wrong about the date. Now, one could have gotten maybe the date wrong. The other one might have gotten a name of someone who sent the email wrong. No, their alleged 2 anonymous sources, they both happened to get the date wrong. So that's why we can't take any action about our reporter. You know, our poor reporters. Oh, that's so sad.
Poor things. Poor things.
You want to know what's really going on with the American media maggots? Here's what's going on. They're lazy.
Yes.
They're incurious. They're absolutely willing to create false, biased, single anonymous sourced, barely researched, or simply repeated and piggybacked stories of either little substance or outright falsehoods. and the editors, even back in the 70s, you know, when the New York Times and the Washington Post were going through Watergate and whatnot, there was shit that wouldn't make it through a damn good editor.
Right.
Okay, let's say you have an arseload of little puppy journalists, but somewhere along the line you've got to have an editor, an assistant editor, the editor-in-chief. Someone's got to proof this shit.
No.
So, okay, it gets created out of whole crap cloth, shipped electronically from some reporter or reporterette's computer over to the editor, who looks at that and goes, well, that's great bullshit, let's send that through. And have you noticed in the past year, just the past year mostly, how many of these big news organizations are accepting single anonymous sourced stories as veritas?
Yes.
Like the single anonymous person who talked about Comey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's okay.
Well, why wouldn't it be?
And you wonder why all across the fruited plain newsrooms are bleeding journalists.
Oh, God, yeah.
They're bleeding readers, they're bleeding advertising, and they're bleeding cash.
Like hemorrhaging cash.
So not too terribly shocking to me.
I'm going to throw something out, because while you were mid-sentence on that, we get a call on the Skype line.
Okay.
And I don't know who it is, honestly.
Did you take it?
No, I'm going to call him back.
Oh, okay. All right, so this is like, who knows what the hell's going to be going on?
No idea. I have no idea who this is going to be. But I figured if they called in on the special studio line, it's going to be a friend of ours.
Could it be like 1-900-grab-my-tits or something
No,
like that?
No. It's definitely no, it's definitely not a 900 number.
Okay, all right.
But I don't know who it is, and it's going to ring out. All right, well, they don't want to go on the air then. I put it into my phone. I was expecting it to be somebody else, and it was not, so we shall move on. Let us, because I know Alabama and Roy Moore is going to probably cover the last hour, and I'm almost positive Clint will be here by then.
We can take that story and damn run with it.
And we get 15 minutes.
There's so many implications for that.
Oh, God, yeah. And we have 15 minutes in this segment, so I want to make sure that we do cover the New York City attempted bombing or successful bombing. But how do you want to...
You said it. I think, I think we both said it. This guy wanted to be the first successful United States suicide bomber.
Yeah.
He was an imbecile, didn't do it right, but he was ISIS-inspired, and I said this on, I said this on my show last night, or even maybe on Ken's show. I said, what we're going to discover are two things. One of them has already turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to discover two things. Number one, we're going to discover that he was not what the media calls a lone wolf. We're going to discover that he was a known wolf. Because sooner or later, we're going to discover that he was under surveillance at one point or another, or on some kind of a list with the FBI or the NYPD, and somebody had been looking at him, examining him for things like this. And he will be a known wolf. The second is that the attribution back to him will all be the meme shortly. if it's not today, maybe tomorrow, will be, the reason he did this is because that evil Donald Trump said that he was going to open the embassy and remove it from Tel Aviv and put it in Jerusalem. He had no other recourse in his life except to try to blow up Americans.
Well, he had already put on social media just prior, Facebook, just prior to the attack, saying, Donald Trump, you cannot protect your people. Something to that effect. For those who don't know, the long and short of it is this guy, who was a licensed taxi driver in New York for a long time, then began working for an electrician, decided to fashion together a pipe bomb very crudely. He strapped it to his body, and he walked into the bus station, the biggest bus station in New York City. And they still haven't said if it was intentional or if it went off early. Either way, because he was so freaking horrible at it, it did not kill anybody. As a matter of fact, most of the damage it did was to himself, but it was a pipe bomb filled with screws and nails, as we've seen before. Very, very consistent with terrorist activity. He immediately, upon his arrest, said that he did it for ISIS.
Shock.
Yeah, which, I mean, let's be honest. We saw this in the Pulse nightclub shooting. I know there are some people in media that are going to say this is not ISIS-inspired. Even the police commissioner said something to the effect of this is not like the Al-Qaeda model where it's people are communicating. This is a conspiracy that is within the confines of their mind.
Oh, by the way, I'm looking at chat. That was Gulf Dogs that called. So Gulf Dogs, if you're listening, call us back.
So, it's definitely one of those things where even comments like that, like, this is not Al-Qaeda. This is a conspiracy within the confines of their own mind. No, because this guy put it out on social media. And this is the police commissioner, John Miller. No, he put it out on social media. I guarantee when they scrub this guy's social media out, there's going to be a ton of ISIS-inspired stuff on it. I guarantee when they go through all of his BS, they're going to realize that he stuck out. Now, he came in via chain immigration, something that Trump is targeting as we speak.
That's another issue entirely, oh my God, off the hook. That shit has got to stop. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that we have to do that.
Right.
People do that because they're gaups. That's why they do it.
Right.
No more complicated than that.
So he came in via chain immigration. Obviously, he's Muslim. And he's
can I stop you just for there?
Yeah.
Just for that. Show me one newspaper or internet report from a major writer or a major internet site that specifically states in the first or second paragraph that this guy's a Muslim.
Have yet to see that. ISIS was thrown all over the place, and because they couldn't argue it, right? You had, and this tells you too, the NYPD is starting to become like the FBI. Pardon. There's so much BS at the top and political correctness that you have senior officials now leaking to the press early and quickly. I brought this up about Vegas too, the pictures that were sent out about the body and all that other stuff. I said, I am convinced that was an officer who said we have to get some of this out there before it disappears in the public, and I'm going to tweet these photos out or send these photos out so they go public. I think that's what's starting to happen with the NYPD, and we saw it with the FBI. Hey, we know that they're going to try to BS this as much as they possibly can, because de Blasio runs New York City. He runs the NYPD. Even though he's not the chief, his lackey is Miller. Let me get to this to the press right away. He made a claim that it was for ISIS within an hour of the attack or 2 hours of the attack. It's sad that it has gotten to that point, but it's also a reality. So this guy goes into the bus station. They don't know how it activated, but it activated. Fortunately, most of the damage was to himself, hopefully his dirty parts. And unfortunately, I think there was 2 or 3 other people that were injured, but not seriously. Had this activated the way that he was hoping it would have been the first, as we said before, suicide vest attack in America. I want that to sink in for people a little bit.
Yeah, let that sit in, and okay, it's New York City. New York City's a shit magnet for any number of reasons. Okay, you send your children off to the local mall. Well, malls are dying, so, you send your kids off to, some kind of a store or something like that. Or some kind of a public venue.
Stores are dying, too.
Let's just say that. And in those venues, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to send your kids out into these venues. People said, no, it can't happen here. It's happening here.
Well, we talked about this, BZ. We've talked about this. Well, you've been with us for a year and a half now. We've been talking about it right along. We've talked about this with every terrorist incident that we've had. San Bernardino, Pulse nightclub, New York City, the Chelsea bombings, all these other terror attacks. Everyone forgets about the Washington Mall shooting last year that was ISIS-inspired. And there's been other ones. I'm forgetting some of them because there's actually been so many over the last year. University of Merced, the knife attack, the guy was ISIS-inspired. Well, we said we're catching up to where Europe is right now, where these suicide bombers, these people who are driving trucks into these groups of people, we just had that. We're starting to see the tactics being used in Europe starting to come over here, and we've warned people for years. This is a reality. This is what happens when you allow immigration to run wild, when you allow an ideology to run wild, when you allow ISIS to grow to the point that they have enough social media and cult presence, if you will, that people want to buy into it. This is what happens. Now, for the last 8 years, we know, people forget, why was ISIS allowed to grow? ISIS grew in the vacuum that was created by the Obama administration for the early withdrawal from Iraq.
Come on, they were just the JV.
Right. They're the junior varsity, a couple hundred. They won't be that big of a deal. When it doesn't matter what you think about the Iraq war. When we withdrew early, we left a vacuum. We left an Iraq government that was not prepared to handle that vacuum. And what happened is ISIS grew, and then the civil war in Syria only exacerbated it because you have a essentially lawless country. It grew further.
Well, just as an aside, what else did we leave? We left an
Equipment.
arseload of equipment that
Weapons.
ISIS picked up and utilized.
And the reality of the situation is that created ISIS to grow to the point that they had social media. Because they were nobody.
Well, they have their own PR firms.
They have PR firms, and they have that cult following. People become sympathetic to them. Folks, this is Nazism in World War II. Except they don't have their home-based country. They were trying to make the caliphate. Luckily, Iraq announced this week that they're essentially ousted from Iraq. Kudos to the Iraqi government for actually following through and getting rid of these monsters. I'm not saying they're gone forever, but the vast majority are gone. But now, what's even worse is because they're not centralized, and we know that people have gone to train in these terrorist camps, and they've come back, and they've gone to fight with ISIS, and they've come back. And ISIS and Al-Qaeda are still sending out how to blow things up magazines left and right.
Where did Mr. Lovely go in the past couple of years?
Yes.
Back to Bangladesh?
Yes, which is another terrorist.
Oh, didn't see that one coming.
Bangladesh has a Muslim terrorism problem, too, that we never hear about. But if you search it, it's there on a fairly regular basis. They had a major terrorism attack last year. All of this is starting to come to fruition. This is what happens when the liberals when Obama allowed ISIS to grow, allowed them to get stronger, allowed them to get more technologically advanced. And then, via social media, they reached out. We can argue all day long about what gets these people's brains going. Is it the religion? Is it just the fact that they want the stardom? Does not. It matters when you're trying to destroy the ideology. But it does not matter when this idiot walks in and tries to trigger a suicide vest in the busiest bus station in the country full of people. What does matter is it was allowed to happen. What does matter is it was missed. What does matter is it's going to happen again because somebody's going to go, okay, he made it into the bus station with that suicide vest. So as long as we get the vest right, we can do the damage.
Well, there are enclaves of Muslim sympathizers, ISIS. There are already ISIS elements in the United States. We already know that.
Yes.
So they're not stupid. They're going to look at this and they're going to say, well, you know, that guy didn't do it right. I bet I could do it better.
Yeah.
So
I hate to say it, but it's like people's view of communism and socialism.
That's right. That, you know, I can do communism. I can be a
do it
better
right.
dictator than the last guy.
I can do it right.
I mean, just because communism has killed, 100 million people, they didn't do it right.
Look at Pulse nightclub. And it's so funny because it's not funny, but people making the association, well, you know, we're talking about ISIS and these Muslim attacks, but what about Vegas? Well, yeah. You know what? The guy in Vegas was obviously a screwball, and we may never know publicly what happened. Yes, the mass shooting that happened a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Texas. I'm sorry, Texas. That guy should not have had a gun. He should have been flagged numerous times, and it fell through the cracks. I'm not saying these people aren't monsters either.
Why did it fall through the cracks? You're loving government. That's the government you place so much, so much credence in.
It matters, but it doesn't. The reality is those people were sick and disturbed individually. Now, there's not a group of people coming out of the incident in Texas where they're like, hey, that guy's right. I don't like my mother-in-law either. Let me go to her church or whatever his inspiration was. You do have the centralized cult that's out there right now that is ISIS and jihad and the Muslims that want to attack and kill. That cult behavior is there, and it's large. Look, I tell people this all the time. You remember the Heaven's Gate people down in San Diego all those years ago?
Certainly.
When you can convince people they're going up to the spaceship to commit suicide, and there's 28 people? I forget how many people died exactly, and everyone's wearing Nikes and their purple shroud.
Yeah, they all were in their little bunk beds with their identical little shoesies and their identical little jammy onesies on.
So if you can convince 28 people that they're going to go onto the spaceship, that's never been talked about, then you're always going to you take a book that's allegedly a couple thousand years old and say, hey, look, this is God. And by the way, the Muslim religion is one of the largest religions in the world. It's actually the largest religion in the world and growing. You think that you're not going to be able to peel off a large segment of that and radicalize them easily? Of course you can. But it was ignored. We've been screaming this from the top of mountains and buildings for years. Since 9/11. You remember 9/11? We were attacked by Al-Qaeda, who also was a Muslim extremist group that wanted death to America. Aloha snack bar, all that shit. Remember those people?
Al-Qaeda's been trying to bring the band back together again, too.
Yeah. You want to talk about terrorism in New York? It keeps happening. People forget failed terrorism attacks in New York, right? There was the guy with the propane 8, 9, 10 years ago. He was in a Honda Passport, and he parked in Times Square, and he just screwed up the propane tanks. But if it exploded, like this guy, it would have taken out a couple hundred people. They're here. They shouldn't be. Thank you, Obama administration. Thank you, chain immigration. Thank you, open borders. Thank you, lax immigration.
But why? Why the fuck do we have to fight ourselves to protect ourselves? Yeah. Only when that went up to SCOTUS were the 4th and the 9th overturned, and they wonder why there's umbrage. Well, no. Quick question. I know we got to go to a break. I know my answer. I'm going to ask it of you, Sean, and everybody else that's in chat. Jersey Joe's still there. Mary, Golf Dogs, Mike, Whiskey Dale, Ron Burgundy. Oh, welcome to Whiskey. Good to see you. Can Europe come back?
No.
Can Europe come back from Islam?
No.
I don't think they can either.
I
don't think that the Gaups over there, the guilty, overeducated white people, have it within themselves. And that's how you lose a race and a civilization, when you cannot even defend. You're not inclined to defend yourself.
Well, and you look at this country right now, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. What's the biggest focus in the news media? Social issues. Our social issues are bigger than our security. Our social issues are bigger than the potential threat. When our social issues are bigger than everything else, including our national security and the well-being of our citizens and our children, we have a serious fucking problem. Because those people have been, the vast majority of this country have been led by the nose to think that social issues are the most important thing in the world. This person's feelings hurt. That person may have been touched inappropriately 55 years ago. That person wants to pee in a men's room. That's been the talk for the last 8 years in media. That's been what's important until you try to change some of our policies on national security to protect us better. And then we're all monsters who hate these people because they're brown.
No, I just hate people because they're stupid.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of hate out there for that. Folks, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to discuss Alabama. Big Nose may show up. It's going to get all sorts of exciting here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking.
And welcome back.
And doing.
I let it go a little long. Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. I actually waited for the stinger this time, BZ. I'm getting better at this.
I know. That's why you're the consummate professional.
It only took me a few years, but I'm getting it, goddammit. Jeez Louise.
Mike in chat says, BZ, has the nose shown up to blow tonight? And sadly, no, he's not here yet. Our fingers are crossed. We're just
You'll know.
waiting.
You'll know when he stomps into the studio because it'll get loud and ridiculous, and it doesn't matter what we're talking about. He'll just start.
Well, that's true. And first, he'll start out with a story. Hey, I got to tell you this. Hey, I tell you what, I like Clint's stories. He's got good stories.
No, it's fun, and that's the thing, right? If his story sucked, I'd cut him off every time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's always magical.
Dude, you're toast.
And it's not just for air. Like, I have so many people text me, like, is he BSing some of this stuff? No. If you've ever met Clint in real life, you'll know he's exactly what you get on the air. He's just as batshit crazy.
Yeah, and people that are his friends know that you don't want to tap him on the shoulder because when he whips his head around to go look at you, well, that's when accidents occur.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I had a black eye, that's exactly what happened.
Most accidents occur in the home or within 5 miles of the home, too.
With 5 miles of his nose. Most people don't know that. It's 5 miles of his nose. So...
Isn't that like the phrase, 5 miles of bad nose?
Yes. 5 miles of bad nose. It's not a phrase, but it's going to be.
You heard it here first on Sackheads.
So let's start off with Alabama. And obviously...
I never really liked him. My wife liked him. But she said the bass player wasn't all that great.
Wait, I'll leave that alone. Musically, of course.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. I was just curious, that's all. Obviously, some people don't listen to what they're instructed, and that's fine.
No, he's right there. There he is. I see him.
Yeah, I know. Did you tell him what I told you to tell him?
No, I said call back.
Yeah. And what did I tell you? I said
forget.
I tried to call him from a different number that would be way, way easier. And, you know.
I can answer it from over here.
That won't put him on the air. You can answer him in fucking everyone's house right now.
I can do that just to... No, I won't do that. That's not nice.
Yeah. And tell him I'll call him back in like 4 minutes. How's that? We'll call him back. He's going to keep calling, but he doesn't have to. I will call him back, and it will be a number he probably doesn't recognize, and just answer the shit, because I tried last time. So, let's see. Alabama.
Okay.
Can we go back to Alabama for real?
I just sent it to him.
Okay, good. Can we go back to Alabama for real?
Yes, we could.
BZ,
it's a sweet home.
Why don't you sum up the election for us, and then we'll go from there.
Well, it won't shock you when we kind of get rolling on this a little bit. I can tell you exactly why it happened. However, how did we get there? Well, we got there this way. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Donald Trump decided that he was going to make Jeff Sessions, who was a senator from Alabama, his attorney general. In my opinion, that was one of the worst decisions that President Trump ever made. Jeff Sessions has the omnipresence, the looming omnipresence of a puddle of Jell-O. I don't care for the guy, if you haven't gotten that by now. In any event, okay, so he created a vacuum. So by that appointment from Jeff Sessions, the senator position had to be filled. So they had a special election in order to fill that Senate seat vacated by Jeff Sessions. Let's see, there was Mo Brooks. I can't think of the guy's first name. Strange.
Luther
Strange.
Yeah, Lex.
Right, okay, I need to think Lex. Mo Brooks, Lex Luthor, and the third guy who's Judge Roy Moore. And, well, they kind of put some emphasis behind Luther Strange, and they weren't interested in doing anything with... Okay, we know the GOP didn't want anything to do with Judge Roy Moore, especially when the allegations came out against him. The GOP said, no, that's it. No money, no nothing. You're on your own, dude. So basically what they had is two people that they could have supported, Lex Luthor and Mo Brooks. Of the two, Lex Luthor was much more moderate and an establihack.
Yes, very much
Mo
so.
Brooks is much more conservative, really pretty conservative. So the GOP decided that they were going to throw cash after Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor didn't really go places. Well, they certainly weren't going to throw any money after Judge Roy Moore. So then it came down to Judge Roy Moore, because a lot of people were up for him, and of the three, he won the runoff, and so it was Judge Roy Moore against Doug Jones, the Democrat. And Doug Jones won last night.
Yes.
In a rather astounding slap in the face to a lot of people who were saying that, it is going to, Steve Bannon said it is going to be Judge Roy Moore. And then after last night, oh my God, the pundits hit. And it took off.
Like a wildfire.
Like an amazing rocket. And some people were disappointed a little. Some people were disappointed a lot.
A lot of it.
Some people think the GOP really fucked up. And some people think the GOP really dodged a bullet.
Yes.
A major bullet.
Yes.
But the one thing we do know is no matter what, in 2 more years, in 2020, there will be, 3 more years, in 2020, there will be, that's when senators run for every 6 years, Congress for every 2 years.
Right.
And so that will come up again for election in 2020. So this guy, Doug Jones, is going to have 2-3 years to do whatever the hell it is that he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully, if he's smart, if he ever wants to get reelected again, he'll probably slide to the side of the conservatives.
Well, see, now that's the other thing that I've been hearing. Some Democrats are saying, "Oh, Doug, we just gave you lots of power in Alabama. If you betray us, buddy, you're going to be well and truly screwed."
Well, and this is why the GOP needs to, right now, find a viable candidate.
Golf Dog says he's not calling back. It's too confusing.
No, it just, Lord. Watch. Let's just jump to Golf Dogs really quick. I didn't mean to make it confusing. All I wanted was somebody to answer the phone if I called. Look, and I'm going to call right now.
Okay, Golf Dogs, if you're listening, he's calling.
I wasn't trying to make it hard.
The number you have dialed, 911, has been changed, and there is no new number.
No forwarding address has been sent. All right, I tried calling him back. It's ringing as we speak. You hear it, I hear it. We all hear it.
Uh-oh.
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 What's up?
Hey,
it's Golf Dogs!
I had to turn off my computer over here because I was hearing myself talk. But how y'all doing?
Doing well, Golf. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Hey, did y'all see where the black ladies in Georgia right now, or Alabama that is, they are complaining because they did not get their money for voting.
What?
Yeah, you know what? I did see that, and I saw it as a blurb. There's a group of women who claimed that they were essentially being paid to vote a certain way in this special election.
Yeah.
And the money had not hit the bank account yet, even though the election's less than 12 hours old, which brings me back to my old mantra. When you were having your vote bought, make sure you get the money up front. Don't wait till the very end, because then you're forgotten about, right? But if you get paid up front, you know that you're taken care of by that illegal voting activity, and all will be well with your bank account. Yeah, I'm not shocked. Look, and we go back to elections where people were being bussed in. We go back to elections where you had people standing in front of polling places scaring people from voting against candidates. We have illegal dead people voting. We have illegal immigrants voting. It would not shock me in the slightest, to think that there was anybody paying to buy votes. And I don't mean like in the traditional sense where, you go in and you buy this restaurant dinner, or you go down here and have that town hall and you provide food, or whatever. Yeah, okay. We could talk about how that's buying an election, not buying blah, blah, blah. This is very, very specific and articulated that it was for the sole purpose for them to show up and pull the handle for Jones. That's what's different here.
It was made real clear prior to this election that Soros had funded money into that county.
Yeah.
For this election.
Yeah.
I mean, it was real clear. I mean, he was putting the people on the grounds. I mean, they cannot afford to lose that vote. And so this is a big Democratic move they made here. I mean, they do not want. I mean, they're fighting right now. We're on the brink. Okay, the Republicans / Democrat are on the brink because our vote in the House is or in the Senate period is basically borderline.
Yeah,
we don't have a cushion right now.
It's going to come
and
down
so
to
they
Pence.
had to have this guy, and this guy is pro-abortion
to the very end.
Total liberal. He is completely opposite of everything that we are against.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, here he is.
And we gave it to him. And that's the problem. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Look, the voters in Alabama, the GOP voters, did not like Luther Strange. They went with Roy Moore. It comes down politically. I don't want to talk about all the BS and all that ended up with Moore, but when it comes down to politically, you have a guy like Roy Moore and you have a guy like Luther Strange. If you're the GOP, you want the easier vote. And if for some reason, and I'm not saying that's the right answer, but I'm saying if you're a GOP strategist, you want the guy who's going to be more of the centrist because you already have the House, right? But you want to just give that cushion vote.
Yeah.
So you're going to go after the centrist. You're going to go after the guy who may pick up that middle-of-the-road voter against the Democrat and take it away from the Democrat as well. So you're going to go with the Luther Strange. The problem is the vast majority of the conservatives in this country are sick of the GOP's approach that way. And as we saw with this last presidential election, they want that more conservative voice out there. Prior to all of the scandals with Moore, he was by far the more conservative voice out there.
And I don't know if anybody in the chat has heard what I've heard today coming out of Trump, and as well as the right wingers. They're basically saying, okay, this is over with, but what we need to do is we need to swing this to the conservatives.
Yes.
I mean, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying right now. In because we need to get people in there because he already realizes, and believe me, Trump realizes you got rhinos in there. They're nothing to do with the Republican Party. They are basically Democrats, and somehow they got elected over to the Republic. I've been saying this, God knows, for at least 10 years. We have so many Republicans masquerading, in the party.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Republicans.
No, they're rhinos.
John McCain is an example. John McCain is a prime example of a guy running and acting like a Republican who is a hardcore Democrat.
Well, and let me tell you why, Ron.
Exactly what's happening.
Golf. Let me tell you why. Because there are certain districts where, as long as you have an R next to your name and you can be semi-popular, you're just going to win. And McCain is one of those states where he's semi-popular. He has an R next to his name. People are going to pull the handle because it's a gimme. They don't have to think about it. Part of the things that sucks with the way politics are nowadays is people are sick of thinking about politics. So what happens is they go with the easiest answer. That's what happened with Roy Moore. When you put Moore next to Strange, he was the easier answer if you're a conservative. Now, the scandals came out. We can talk about that. We can talk about how it's amazing how many scandals come out in these situations. But I want to talk about one of the big things that happened, I think, in this election. This election says to GOP voters and conservative voters, hey, these midterms are coming up. The Senate is more important now than it's ever been, but the House is more important. And if you don't get out and vote, which is one of the biggest things that happened in this election, if you don't get out and vote, you're going to lose. And one of the things, too, that this turned around and said to me is, look at how bad some of these Democrats are and why this is such a winnable seat during the next senatorial election. This guy Jones was up against a guy who allegedly groped a young child. All of these allegedly, and I'll say allegedly, but if you can't beat an alleged pedophile, and it's so close that it almost comes down to a recount, if you can't blow that guy out of the water, I don't care what party you're with, then your party is severely damaged in that district. Look, if none of this stuff came out about Roy Moore, if none of it happened or was alleged to have happened, he would have friggin' destroyed Jones in this election. It would have been a severe referendum on Democrats yet again. Hands down, you would have been talking 72% of the vote. Easily.
It's a tactic.
Yeah,
it's a tactic that wins.
It's easily to say also Jones is a paid, he's a paid vote. I mean, he got there because of money. And Moore had too much baggage, and they caught up with him. And that's exactly what happened. And there were better candidates. But this is what the Democrats and the left do. They seize on something like that.
Yeah.
And that's why whenever we've seen, like, just in the last week, I don't know, 20 women come out and are accusing Trump now of some kind of corruption.
Yeah, because they just saw it work.
Yeah, and think about it. Where were you at? He got elected. Well, we've already defunct that. That
Right.
happened, years ago. But we've already shot it down. Here they are. They're coming back, but they're getting paid to do it.
Well, this
It's
is
why they do it. It's
but
why
this
they
is also in their
keep
reserve
mouths
tank.
open.
This was in their reserve tank.
Yeah.
They never thought he'd get a win. This was their backup plan, and now it's, oh, shit, he won. And they tried to dangle it a little bit previous to the election, and other than some dirty words, it all turned out to be false. But the other thing that's going on is they know they have to smear a couple of big-name conservative politicians or Republicans, including the president, because they are the party right now of sexual deviants and lunatics. They are the party of the Weinsteins.
Exactly.
They are the party of the Al Frankens. They are the party of everything that's coming out. Look at Anthony Weiner. Everyone forgets about Anthony Weiner all of a sudden. This guy's texting his junk to underage girls. The Democrats have a major problem in this country, and it's not conservatives. It is the deviants within. And listen, I've said before, I'll say it again. What two people do behind their closed doors, none of my goddamn business. But as long as they both agree and as long as they're both consented, I don't care. I really don't. If you want to walk in with a car battery, a case of motor oil, and some jumper cables, go for it. I don't give a shit. As long as everybody wants to be there. But now we're finding out more and more the Democrats have all of these people in these ranks who, and look at, I mean, go back to Ted Kennedy. Remember the story about him in the 90s in the restaurant in D.C., jumping on a waitress and rubbing his junk to get her hammered? And that was after he killed a woman in a car accident. And that was after the William Kennedy Smith trial, in which Ted Kennedy came into the room with the two young ladies that were there without pants on. He was a sitting fucking senator.
But he's a Democrat, so who cares?
Right, and that's exactly my point.
But most people, most people don't remember that.
Right.
I remember what you're talking about. Most people don't remember that.
They don't want to remember.
Truth be known. Oh God. Just period. Put an exclamation point on what you just said, because that's a fact.
Yeah.
And the truth is, the Democratic Party have so much to hide, so much bag. You know what's funny? I was going to say what's sad, but actually it's what's funny. It's coming out right now because we're seeing every day in the news. These. Well, look at Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
My God, they're dropping like flies. Mm-hmm. Everybody's ratting on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
DC, same thing.
Yep.
Tavis Smiley just died today.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Tavis Smiley just got hit with sexual harassment complaints today.
Oh yeah.
Well, and then you look at New York, right?
Yeah.
All the major news agencies that are having this happen, and PBS included, right? Matt Lauer,
NPR,
NBC,
Three
ABC,
people at
Charlie
NPR.
Rose. or CBS. Was Charlie Rose CBS? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who was the guy in Michigan, the Democrat talk show host, last week that it came out that he was it Michigan or Minnesota?
Talk show?
Yeah, it came out that he's a big Democratic talk show host, that he was same thing. Al Franken, the guy who had to resign there, the congressman, I can't even think of his name right now, who had to resign. It's coming out more and more, and it's coming out in droves. But here's the problem. Yeah, there's been a couple of conservatives whose names have slipped in, right? You had the Oklahoma State senator who was caught with an underage boy. You had, what was it, out of Texas there, one of the Congress members who they made a big deal out of it, but texted himself naked to a girl that he was dating at the time.
The guy with the wide stance in the toilet?
Yes. Okay, is that like weird? Well, it's 2017 and it happens all the time, but I don't think it's weird, but it was between two consulting people, and then he broke up with her, so now she's going to put it out there. Okay, but let's not forget, outside of Anthony Weiner, we had our good friend there, Geraldo. The huge liberal,
Yeah.
right? Remember the towel picture? And I'm not saying, look, if Geraldo's dating that girl and he wants to send her that picture and he trusts her with it, okay, great. But you have to know what's going on in the world right now. And you have to know the problem I have with media is they're starting to coalesce into everything that's alleged has become true. But unless it's their people. And then it's only true when it has to be true.
How secure do you feel? Okay, say the sackheads decide they want to take pictures of themselves naked,
okay,
and send them to people around the internet.
Okay,
and we have no problems. We're not worried. But think about this. This is the mind of a politician, evidently.
Right.
Take pictures of yourself naked and send it to your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whoever.
Right.
And it's not going to come. It's not going to come back to haunt you. Hell yes, it is.
Of course it is, because
Here it is right now.
you have something to lose, and you also have this culture of people wanting to be more famous and using the internet to do it quickly because they'll get the interviews. They'll have their little. Look at Monica Lewinsky, right? She was the original, and I'm not saying what happened between Bill and Monica was okay or whatever, but let's face it, Monica was one of the first social media tabloid victors with this, right? Everything that came out, the dress, and after that, people, and Monica's living a good life now. She's not poor. She still does interviews and shows and writes and does all this other stuff. And you have all these other people who said, well, why not me? And you got to ask yourself if you were seeking public election. Now, look, I say it all the time. If you're going into public and you want to run for an office and there is pictures of you naked out there, be comfortable with the fact that they're going to probably come up. And if you sent them to somebody that you're in a relationship with, have that defense ready and just come out and be like, yeah, you know what? I did. And it's okay because he and I were together and they were supposed to be kept private and he broke our privacy or she broke our privacy act. Life sucks. Move on. But it's funny because I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, BZ, 60s and 70s, and even before that, wasn't there a huge market in this country for wives to go get burlesque style photos done for their husband as that kind of that private gift?
Actually, that went up into the 80s.
Yes. And it was acceptable.
Yes, it was.
And it was not only acceptable, but it was like
they were called boudoir photos.
Boudoir. Thank you. That's what I meant to say. But
a girlfriend of mine did it.
It's always been around. That idea has always been around. It's just how we transfer the information now has changed. But you don't do that and run for office. That's what I'm saying.
We got to go to a break.
We do.
I want to give one thing out here that Ron Burgundy said in chat. He said some of these folks are making Anthony Weiner look normal. That was a great comment.
Hey, Gulf, thank you for calling in, sir. I appreciate it.
You bet. I'm going to cut out and listen to y'all on the radio.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Long-time listener, Gulf Dogs, joining us.
And I got a new story when we come back.
What
This
is
just
your
came out.
story? Really?
Mary Brockman sent it, and I just pulled up the article. Pretty intense, but we'll chat about that when we come back.
Okay, all that and more here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk. The Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it.
Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Just the last question we cut a couple seconds ago. Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Good point. Exactly right.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Hey, you know, everybody who listens to the show knows my good friend Dan Butcher loves to harass me constantly.
What do you say he is?
Second best newsman in the business.
Duce. Thank you very much.
El Duce. But BZ, you know me. What's my favorite drink of alcoholic choice?
I think it's bourbon.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
No, so not okay. Discounting really expensive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite bourbon? Because you've got Bullet up there, right?
Right. So Bullet's good. I like the Bullet Rye, actually. Booker's is another great bourbon. Eagle Rare I like as well. I'll tell you right now, there's a couple of great bourbons out there that have very, very small names. That
do you ever do that Pappy, the whatever it is, Pappy stuff?
No.
Grand Pappy, Old Pappy?
Yeah, no. Old Granddad?
No. Not old. It's something Pappy where people line up at Bevmo when they know that the
I've
shit
never
is
done
coming
it.
in.
Yes, I've never done it.
And like the
Yes.
bottles are about 150. Old Pappy, something like that. The bottles are 150
Yes.
to 250 to $350 for one bottle.
Yeah. No, I haven't done it yet.
All the dudes at work, when I would talk to the
Line up
sergeants
for
and
it?
whatnot, they were the guys.
Yes.
Lining up at Bevmo when they heard, Sub Rosa, oh, we got some new Pappy coming in. I gotta be over there.
So it's pretty well known on the show that bourbon is my drink of choice. I enjoy bourbon, all sorts and kinds of bourbon.
I wonder what mine is. I have no idea.
Yeah. By the way, I thought of you when the vodka truck rolled over in Southern California. I think it was Southern
so
California.
sad. That was
Tragic.
about a week and a half ago.
Yes,
I
tragic.
cried.
I know.
I cried.
So as I'm sitting here and I'm trying to do the show, and I'm trying to be focused and I'm trying to get everything done, social, this, that, and the other thing, phone calls.
The
this,
guy sitting in that seat is a busy mofo.
all day. It never ends on the show. And I get a text from my good friend Dan Butcher.
Okay.
And he sends me this glass, and I knew what was in it, but I had to ask. You ever ask a question that as soon as you ask, you're like, son of a bitch, I already know the answer. And Dan knows, by the way, he's drank with me. Danny knows what I drink, and he knows it well.
All right.
So he sends me this full, and it's this beautiful skull glass. I actually would love to get a glass just like that. And I said to him, is that bourbon or a toddy? Because I knew it was one of the two. I knew the answer, BZ. I don't know why I asked. I knew the answer. And he said, of course it's bourbon in a crystal skull. And I said, you son of a bitch. You just have to throw that in the middle of the show where everything's going, and you're going to throw bourbon in my face and act like it's friggin' nothing. Like it's nothing. And this is what he does to me. Everybody who's out there, and I won't share everything that Dan texts me, obviously, but oh, Dan, he's so sweet, and he's so nice and easygoing. Oh,
do
Dan,
you actually have
funny.
a photo?
Oh, yeah. I'm not showing it.
Oh, okay. Damn it.
Danny, he's so funny and easygoing, and he's so polite and nice to everybody. He's so sweet.
He is. He's very sweet.
Danny's one of the biggest ball busters on the face of this planet. And he knows he gets me with shit. And I can hear his laugh. If you've ever heard Danny on the air, his laugh is louder in person. He's got this huge booming laugh because he's this ginormous man. He's like 6'8" and like 600 pounds. I don't even know he's like a mystical creature.
He makes Comey look small.
Yeah, he makes John Henry look like a pipsqueak. He's this big booming man, and when he laughs, it actually reverberates through the room. Oh yeah, no, I can hear him laughing now from down in Texas, and I know he is the son of a bitch, and I'll get even with him someday. God, I love you, Danny, but yeah, God. Before we went to break, actually during the break, we were talking about Alabama. You said you had a question, and then why Alabama was important. So what is your question, sir?
Well, actually, before we go to that, this article just came out, and Mary Brockman pointed me onto it. And this is very interesting. It's from Yahoo News. It says, Kentucky lawmaker accused of assault dies in apparent suicide. Mm-hmm. Okay, at first blush, okay, interesting, but it's the details. Okay, Dan Johnson, a Republican state lawmaker in Kentucky who defiantly denied allegations that he sexually assaulted a teenage girl in the basement of his home, died in an apparent suicide tonight. The county coroner said he was 57. Very interesting.
Yes, very interesting indeed.
The autopsy is scheduled for Thursday morning, and the guy said, yes, I think it's probably suicide. He was elected to the state legislature in 2016, part of a wave of Republican victories that gave the GOP control of the Kentucky House of Representatives for the first time in 100 years. He won his election despite Republican leaders urging him to drop out of the race after local media reported on some of his Facebook posts comparing Barack and Michelle Obama to monkeys. Yeah. Very bad.
Very bad.
And so if he decided to do that and if this accusation is being made, unfortunately, this tends to lend credence to that.
It does.
Or evidence was about, on the cusp of coming out, right, indicating that, yes, in fact, this was true.
And he's a monster.
So just thought I'd throw that
and
out in the ozone.
In another strange suicide. Did you hear about this New York City surgeon?
No.
Dr. Dean Lorich. He's 54 years old. He's an orthopedic trauma surgeon. for special surgery. He treated Bono after a bike accident a couple years ago. He committed suicide. Now, if you're a doctor and you know pain, right? I'm just going to guess that's on the cusp there. What do you think the most ideal way to commit suicide would be? Medication, maybe something quick, maybe.
Okay, you're asking what would a doctor tend to use in suicide?
Yes.
I would say the first thing off the top of my head is medicine, of course.
Right. Has access to it, knows that it'll be painless.
Sure.
And knows that it'll also be clean. Yeah, okay. There's probably the hanging option because it's usually pretty quick. There's the gunshot wound. It depends on how you do it, but
yeah.
There's the gunshot wound, etc. This guy was found in his New York City apartment when police called responded to a 911 call from his young daughter, I believe she was 11, that he was found in the bathroom with a knife sticking out of his chest. It is also believed that the knife did not strike his heart and he bled out. Very, very painful way to go. And a very, very odd way to commit suicide.
Yeah, that's...
But Dr. Dean Lurich, you ready for this? Because you're just going to... I meant to bring this up earlier, and you're just going to kind of like... You're going to look at me, and your eyes are going to spin for a minute, and you're going to say, son of a bitch, I should have known.
You were going to throw it under the topic of what the fuck, then.
Yes, absolutely. This guy worked with a certain foundation during a certain Haitian earthquake recovery.
Oh, God.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to send that to Tammy Jackson.
Yes. So he was the U.S. surgeon who exposed the Clinton Foundation corruption in Haiti. He was on CNN back in the day and essentially came out and accused the Clinton Foundation, and this is from yournewswire.com, but he went to the higher-ups in the Clinton Foundation, then he went to Hillary Clinton herself, and then he went public, writing an article published by CNN accusing the Clinton Foundation of widespread corruption and malpractice in Haiti at the cost of thousands of children's lives. Billions of dollars were raised by the Clinton Foundation to help the Haitians, but the vast bulk of the money was funneled into the Clinton Friends and Associates, according to Dr. Lurich, who described a harrowing detail with what all this meant for the children of Haiti.
Okay, now what website are you on?
I'm on a website called yournewswire.com.
Your Newswire, okay.
But they have the CNN article titled Dr. Haiti Medical Situation Shameful that he wrote. Dr. Lurich argued, in essence, the Clinton Foundation greed left Haiti children dying painful deaths. Quote, we expected many amputations, but we thought we could save limbs that were salvageable, particularly those of children. We recognize that this is an undeveloped country. A limb amputation may be a death sentence, and it shouldn't have to be. And he outed the Clinton Foundation and amazingly was found dead of an apparent suicide where he jammed a knife into his his chest, not his check.
Okay, that goes into... that's definitely going over to Tammy J. Now, I just put one link for that in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
So, folks, if you want to go over there and look at that, good God.
Right.
And again, every it seems like, honest to God, Sean, does it not seem like every day, every new day, there's some outrageous piece of shite, and you continuously go, the bleat is, and it never stops. You can't write this.
Right. When it comes to the Clintons, nothing surprises me anymore. I've always said with the Clintons, and I said this with Tammy J's article when she first started writing it, and as she's added on to it.
And I had her on last week to talk about this.
And I've said this time and again. How is it that this one family has so many people perish around them that have personal contacts in such odd, bizarre ways? You have to ask yourself this question at some point.
Logical thinking people absolutely have to.
So, and I apologize. It's just you mentioned the suicide, and that popped into my brain.
Well, hey, listen, that's a great story. I just shipped it out on Twitter.
Yes,
and I just shipped it to Tammy, and I just put it in the chat room so people have that link as well. I had not heard about that at all. Did you hear about that? What, today?
Yeah, I heard about it. I read it earlier today. And I meant to bring it up on the show earlier tonight, and it escaped my brain, and you started talking about it, and here we are.
Holy crap.
We got 15 minutes. I want to close out Alabama. I want to close out more. I know you had some thoughts on this, so go ahead.
My thought is this, and you kind of have to do the logical extension, and my new mantra these days is whatever it is that I'm thinking, I've been dragged kicking and screaming to that thought. In other words, I've been disabused into the point where I have to consider all these wacky things that are going on. Here's what I think about the Alabama situation with regard to Judge Roy Moore. People are saying, well, it's Trump's fault. People are saying, well, it's Judge Roy Moore's fault. It's everyone's fault. You want to know whose real fault it is?
Democrats?
Mitch McConnell.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, like I said, Democrats.
Yeah, because here's what I said. Once you established Donald Trump in D.C., whose mantra was drain the swamp, you had all the establishacks on both sides of the aisle, Republican as well, of course, and their arses were on fire. And that's one of the reasons that you're seeing all the stuff that's going on these days with regard to Mueller, etc.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell is an hack.
He is.
He is a hack establishment GOP guy. And I told you about Mo Brooks. He didn't want Mo Brooks. Mo Brooks could have fucking won.
Yes.
This election.
Yes.
So he decided he was going to put Lex Luthor Strange in there, because Lex could be manipulated, and Lex was another hack GOP guy.
Yes.
And then Judge Roy Moore entered and beat Lex Luthor, and Mo Brooks, who he could not have been contained. I think he could easily have been elected. They could have thrown money after him. No. The GOP decided that it was going to throw money after this strange guy, literally, strange guy.
Strange dude.
And then Judge Roy Moore took up, and he was galloping all the way. And so the reason, if the GOP had backed Mo Brooks and not this other guy, Luther Strange, because I'm sure they thought, okay, we can't manipulate this guy, but we can manipulate this one. This is the guy we're going to get the money to. It all comes back to, let me give you another analogy. And honest to God, this is no shit. My wife works for the state of California. I won't tell you where she works, but they had 3 candidates for a particular job. And they chose the person it got down to 2 people. And then they chose the person with the least ability to essentially do the job.
Perfect.
And the rationale for the leader of that area, the rationale was, well, that particular individual would have gone to that supervisor, and that is a weak supervisor, and he would have had that supervisor jumping through hoops, and we can't have that, so we're going to get the least competent individual to do the job because we're afraid that our weak supervisor won't be able to supervise this guy, and he'll be telling this supervisor what to do.
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you. Hello, Mitch McConnell. You're the reason you just lost a Senate seat. Mitch.
Yep. Once again. And look, I hate to say it, but I mean, I don't hate to say it. I've said it time and again. McConnell needs to go. The GOP leadership, and if you are a Republican, you're in the committee, you need to find real conservatives to start filling these positions and getting rid of these rhinos, like Golf Dogs was saying. I understand that you cannot put a true conservative in California and expect them to hit any traction, right? You have to kind of put a centrist in California because they're considered extreme conservatives if they're middle of the road. But when you get to the middle of our country, when you get to the South, when you get to the places where conservatives traditionally are strong, and you run these rhinos, and they win, and then they act like rhinos, and people get pissed.
There's another aspect to it, though, that I'll throw out in the ether, and I'd like your thoughts and the thoughts of the people in chat. I think, and they may not publicly say this, but my guess would be that there was a bit of a groundswell initially behind Judge Roy Moore because people were perceiving, you know what? D.C., blow me.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell us here in Alabama who we're going to elect and why.
Yeah.
Now, again, they may not necessarily have been behind it. Maybe verbally they were.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the groundswell and the pushback came from the fact that I truly believe a lot of people in Alabama said, blow me. D.C., we're not dancing to your tune. And if we want to put this guy in, we will.
Yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree.
Now, there's another article I told you that I'd find here, and I also told Golf Dogs that I'd find it. Okay, here we go. Here's the other article similar to what Golf Dogs was referring to, and it's from Politico.com. Secret super PAC backing Jones in Alabama exposed.
Oh, Schumer Soros.
A group that spent more than $4 million on the Democrats' behalf is controlled by Washington interests, even as Jones has distanced himself from the national party. A mystery super PAC backing Democrat Doug Jones in Alabama is controlled by a pair of groups closely aligned with the National Democrat Party, even as the candidate strives to disassociate himself from Washington interests. Highway 31, which dropped more than $4.1 million in support of Jones and against Roy Moore ahead of Tuesday's Senate special election, is a joint project of two of the largest national Democrat super PACs, Senate Majority PAC and Priorities USA Action, along with a group of Alabama Democrats. Multiple senior officials familiar with the arrangement told Politico.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that the guy who we've accused for years for trying to fix our elections and a guy who is absolutely anti-Trump and conservative somehow banded together to dump a ton of money into the special election to hope to try to get a conservative loss?
Yes, and by the way, that article that was put in here that I think I put out to the chat room, the article did indicate that some women voted, specifically some black women apparently voted, and were upset when they didn't get their money for voting for Jones.
You know what?
Again, it's if it's not close, they can't cheat.
I forget, and I'm going to Google this right now. Wasn't there a story like that during not this past presidential election, the one before? Where they were supposed to get paid, and they didn't, and they got upset.
I'm trying to remember. No, I can't remember that.
And maybe I'm wrong.
Here's two. While you're trying to find that, let me say this. Here's two additional paragraphs that are going to validate what Golf Dogs just said. The pair of Washington-based super PACs are two of the largest in Democrat politics. Priorities spent at least $190 million to try to elect Clinton in 2016, while Senate Majority spent more than $90 million in that election cycle. The groups have collected checks from a gamut of top Democrat donors, led by longtime party contributors like George Soros. Golf Dogs, you're absolutely correct. And it was written in here by Politico, frequently a moderate to left-leaning site. Mm-hmm. And they're writing this. Golf Dogs, you're correct.
It's sad. Look, George Soros is a very scary person. If you look through his history...
not bad for a Hungarian Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah.
But hey, nothing to see here. Move along.
But if you
don't, that's not important.
But he's not a fascist.
No.
He's not a fascist.
Antifa.
Antifa. Oh, man. It's just scary. It's scary shit when you have these special elections. And look, you asked me a question at the break. I want you to ask me again.
we know how the Democrats get to where they are now.
Yes.
And we know the kind of tactics that the Democrats use. Dirty, in the mud, they don't mind. Well, Harry Reid. I go back to this because it was the biggest fuck you that the Democrats ever could have given to the Republican Party, and everyone thought, oh, that's fine, it's just Harry Reid.
It's lovely.
If you remember, Harry Reid in the Senate said, and Romney, he cheated on his taxes, he didn't pay his taxes, and I swear this is the truth. And then after Harry Reid gets out,
he goes, that never happened. We all knew it was bullshit.
That was an abject lie, but I knew basically that it would work.
It was bullshit.
And nothing could be
and
done.
And he laughed about it.
Yeah, he did. He thought, he said, it got the job done, and I would have done it again, and that's why I did it, because it advanced our interests.
Right.
So the question that I had for you out in the patio during the break was, our conservatives, is the GOP, the Republicans, are they going to have to get in the mud?
No.
Just like the Democrats in order to win? And you got to ask, because that's how I lost friends when I voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to have to set aside some of your morals in order to advance your own agenda?
No.
The Democrats have no fucking problem with that at all. And that's how they get ahead.
My answer is no, and here's why. Even if it costs us short term. Look, you go right here and out.
I'm not even sure, honest to God, and like I said, I've been disabused by doing this. I'm not even sure that doing the right thing is going to win.
But here...
how sad is that?
You look short term, long term. Look. Right now, we've talked about it. One of the biggest things about this election is going to be the Supreme Court setup for the next 25, 30 years. That's going to be one of the biggest things that comes out of Trump's legacy, is going to be the Supreme Court. We could talk about a bunch of other things, but that's going to be the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah.
Once that is set, and we know that a lot of the things that the Democrats would love to undo will be, or do, our liberties have a better chance of being protected, certainly now with Gorsuch. And as we move on, like I said, I don't see Ruth Bader Ginsburg making it all the way through Trump before she even retires. I don't wish anything ill upon anybody, but
she's not in great health.
I don't see her being able to make the next 3 years. I just don't see it happening. So if that happens, and look, Sotomayor and
see, confirmations, though. Confirmations, Senate. Confirmations, Senate.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell, you just fucked us over.
Well, could have potentially fucked us over.
Potentially, yes.
But the reality of this, and the next fight is going to be more conservative than Gorsuch, and it's going to be a fight.
It'll be damn near nuclear.
Yep. And the reality of the situation is, we may lose a couple of elections, and this is my belief. You asked me the question, I'm giving you my belief.
Okay.
I think that we don't have to sling mud. I think you already see the trend in this country that people are getting more and more agitated at the ridiculousness that these parties are going to win, specifically the Democrats. And I even know liberals who are kind of sick of it. I know liberals who are sick of Antifa. I know liberals who are sick of all of that, because how it makes our country look. We look like a third world batshit crazy country with all this stuff, right? And so we may lose a couple of short-term elections, but I think long-term it will play better for our nation, and I think that as conservatives it will play better for us to not dip our toe in the shit. And we may suffer for it short-term, but it's a long-term game. And we have to remember that. That's my belief. Fingers crossed, but that is my belief. My belief is that if we stay on the up and up, and we don't, because once we fall into that mudslinging, it never goes back. That's where we live forever in our politics, for as long as this nation stands.
The Democrats will never go. The Democrats will never go back.
I disagree.
Ever.
I disagree.
Do you think they're going to come clean? You think they're going to clean up?
I think at some point they will be forced to. I think the leadership in the Democrats will change, because if you keep getting your ass handed to you, your tactics will have to change.
Unless their ass doesn't keep getting handed to them.
Well,
2018 makes me very concerned.
I think that this loss with Moore will carry us in 2018 more than anybody thinks. I really do. I think this will be the one that sets people up to go, oh, shit, we better show up. We better pay attention. And the other thing, too, is good candidates. That's one of the things. You need a candidate up there who the mudslinging doesn't touch. You have to get these younger, better conservatives out there, and you have to you have to make sure that they're ready to go. And they should be able to beat the bullshit easily.
Mo Brooks was there. They purposely decided not to choose him, and they're paying the price.
And hopefully that carries through, well, let's call it forever. Folks, that's it for the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media.
Great show, sir.
Thank you, sir, for an amazing show. We'll be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Of course, tomorrow night at 8 p.m., you're going to catch the Bloviating Zeppelin right here on the SHR Media Network.
Thriller writer Terrence McCauley and a lot of buttery political goodness.
And, of course, before him is Jersey Joe, who is back this week. It is a privilege and an honor to have him back.
Jersey Joe!
And make sure you check us out, shrmedia.com. If you click on our schedule and our broadcasters, it'll show you everyone who's on, when, where, how, and why. We have some great, great friends on here. Make sure you check them out and give them the love that you certainly give us every week. We will see you next week, folks.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio. Sackheads Radio.